production of the Mississippi State University Extension Service.
Today on Farm Week, 2 senators are trying to amend the proposed farm bill to keep the EPA from releasing a farmer's personal information.
In southern gardening, raised vegetable beds are becoming popular. Interplant some ornamentals and you'll have a combination that's hard to beat.
In the markets, wheat prices move downward as the month progresses, as U.S. corn exports for 2013 drop considerably.
In the feature segment, the Gaining Ground Sustainability Institute of Mississippi. This group is meeting a big need for information and instruction on organic and sustainable living.
Our mission is to build a sustainable Mississippi, and the way we do that is by pulling people together and networking throughout the state. So we identify what sustainable initiatives are going on in Mississippi already, we make connections among those, and then we expand on those.
Good day, everyone. I'm Leighton Spann.
And I'm Artis Ford. Welcome to Farm Week. 2 senators want to make sure that a farm's private information isn't disclosed by the federal government.
Artists, earlier this year, information from 80,000 livestock and poultry producers was released by the Environmental Protection Agency. This information allowed farms to be identified individually. Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley and Indiana Senator Joe Donnelly introduced an amendment to the Farm Bill which would hopefully keep that from happening again. Donnelly says the amendment would allow the EPA to release information only when all personally identifiable data has been removed. Donnelly says farmers shouldn't have to be worried about being targeted and harassed by anti-agriculture forces.
Well, as we enter June, let's check on the Mississippi Weekly Crop Report from the Mississippi Ag Statistics Service in Jackson. This report reflects conditions as of last Sunday, June 2nd. And it's still wet in many parts of the state. As you can see, surplus soil moisture in almost 20% of the state, adequate in 77%, and it's actually short in 4% of the state. And none of the state is reporting very short soil moisture at this time. And of course, we've had a big rain since this report came out, so we'll probably see that stay about the same. In terms of Mississippi corn, planting basically complete. It probably is complete, but 99% as of Sunday. Emergence 97%. Of course, normally things are usually 100% at this state and advancing onward. As you can see, in terms of corn condition, only 9% of the crop in excellent shape, 44% good, 40% of the crop in fair shape, and 1% is described as being in poor condition. Mississippi soybeans are running far behind there. This crop will need timely moisture later in the summer to make average yields. 74% of the crop planted as of Sunday. Normally the average is 93%, basically finishing up for this state. Emergence 48%, so only half of the crop. And normally at this time we're seeing 86%, 38 points off. Mississippi cotton running behind as well, off 16 points, 77%. Complete as of Sunday, and emergence also running far behind. Just a little over a third of the crop has emerged as of Sunday. Mississippi rice, another crop that's going to need some timely weather. 92% of the crop is planted, so we're just about finished there, but in terms of emergence, only 72% of the crop was up as of Sunday, and normally we're basically finished at this date. So pollination could be a problem if the weather is hot later. Mississippi peanut, 63% of the crop planted as of Sunday, and that is 25 points behind for this state. Mississippi watermelon is running behind as well. Some probably just won't get planted. 73% complete as of June 2nd, and normally we're 99% for this state. Mississippi wheat, all the crop is heading, which we expect, but harvest is running behind. The weather not helping there. Only 1% of the crop harvested as of Sunday, and normally we're up to 37% by this state. In terms of condition, only 9% of the crop in excellent shape, 60% good, fair 26%, poor 5%, and none of the crop being described in very poor condition. Mississippi hay harvest is behind, obviously, and probably not as of good a quality since it's this late. Only 68% of the cool season hay harvested as of June 2nd. Well, have you ever wondered how to make your vegetable garden attractive as well as productive? In this week's Southern Gardening segment, Extension horticulturist Dr. Gary Bachman will show us how to grow and raise beds, and if we add some perennials, it will improve our veggie garden experience.
There's been a big increase in home vegetable gardens over the last few years. Most homeowners want their gardens to provide healthy food and fit in as an attractive component to the landscape. My friend John's vegetable garden is a perfect example of this landscape integration. The garden is defined by the decorative picket fence and surrounded by a variety of tough and hardy flowering perennials. Early sunrise coreopsis has bright and sunny yellow flowers that contrast well with the tiny blue flower heads of lollipop verbena. Adding to the colorful interest are red and white hot lip salvia and the woolly blue and white flowers of Mexican bush sage. This rustic old bike along the fence serves as a piece of garden art. I really like the fresh herbs that are readily available growing in containers around the outside of the fence. John's vegetable garden is a series of raised beds. The native soil amended with compost and organic matter provides excellent drainage and is a great benefit to the plants. For watering, John has installed a clever and simple irrigation system. PVC pipe is set along the perimeter of the raised beds with 1/8-inch holes drilled about 6 inches apart. When the valve is turned on, the entire bed is watered underneath the foliage, which reduces the chances of leaf diseases. All this work is paid off with exceptional growth. Just look at how these yellow squash are producing, and the green zucchini are not far behind. John has shown us the vegetable garden can be attractive as well as productive. I hope this gives you some ideas to use in your garden this year. I'm horticulturist Gary Bachman for Southern Gardening.
Now, Leighton, Gary says that a raised bed border about 12 inches high should be tall enough for most vegetable crop roots. And the feature segment today, the Gaining Ground Sustainability Institute of Mississippi. This grassroots organization is a great source of organic and sustainable living information. Time now, though, for the markets with Leighton, and you say U.S. ag exports are likely to set a record for this fiscal year?
That is the latest projection, but those numbers, they're not as high now as they were only a couple of months ago. Also ahead in the markets this week, the new crop corn price is being pressured by weather forecast. Some analysts say the consumer resistance to high choice beef prices is showing up, while no shortage of chicken McNuggets in Russia is likely. We will explain that. We begin this week, though, with the row crop markets. At the market open on Thursday morning, corn futures were trading a ½ cent lower to a couple of cents higher following release of the weekly export sales figures. Now, instead of the projected 600,000 or so metric tons in net export sales last week, not quite 159,000 tons of U.S. corn were exported. Meanwhile, analyst John Roach insists corn supplies will be tighter as fall approaches due to the delayed harvest in some parts of the country. He predicts a volatile old crop market in the meantime.
We think that it makes sense to make sales when the market stages a rally and comes up a little bit of a cyclical top, and in fact, as we had one of those this week, and so we advised our readers to make some sales on corn this week. But we also think we'll have 2 or maybe 3 more of those during this summer period. We think it's going to be a very volatile market, particularly in old crop corn, as we go all the way through this summer. The one thing we know for sure is we have delayed the harvest date or the beginning of harvest on corn because of the weather conditions we have. And so we think that the supplies are going to be very, very tight prior to coming into harvest. And so we think a volatile market with several peaks, but we think the one we had this week was one worth selling a piece of the inventory in the bin.
Meanwhile, the wheat sector is being termed a bear market by most analysts these days. Analyst Jamie Kohaki says we're looking right now at a fairly large world supply of wheat.
I'm still bearish wheat right now. There's no major weather concerns worldwide. There's no supply problems worldwide either. So I'm bearish, looking to sell 755 December wheat. That's up close to some key moving averages, and would like to get short up in there until we could run into some more dire situations somewhere, weather or supply-wise.
Brownfield Ag News reports U.S. agricultural exports for the fiscal year 2013 are likely to set a record, but not to the extent projected earlier by the USDA. As this year rolls on, the numbers continue to slide. Now, as we noted at the top of this market segment, net exports of U.S. corn were down last week. And in the bigger picture, USDA's chief economist, Joe Glauber, says they are down, quote, considerably. Now, wheat export projections also fell in the latest trade outlook report. But export projections for U.S. oilseed products, and for cotton are trending higher. We wind up the row crop sector of our markets with a trivia quiz, one about the dairy industry. How many Mississippi counties have one or more dairy farms now? Here are your choices. Is the answer A, 28, or B, 34, or C, 49, or D, 65? You'll find out the right choice right before our feature story.
We're going to pause for a short break on Farm Week. Coming up, we'll look at the calendar in the second part of the markets. Leighton Spann reports an American company is opening a chicken processing plant in Russia. You'll also have the latest on the cattle market. In the feature segment today, the Gaining Ground Sustainability Institute of Mississippi.
MSUcares.com is a popular website offering coordinated access to Mississippi State University's research and extension system. Now we have a Spanish language version of MSUcares.com where you'll find newsletters, brochures, and publications. Plus, you can view Spanish language videos on topics including credit, finances, and immunization. Visit MSUcares.com today and click on the En Español link for useful Spanish language information.
Before we get back to the markets, let's look at the Farm Week calendar. The Southern Sustainable Ag Working Groups, Southern Sustainable Ag Research and Education, and the USDA's Natural Resources Conservation Service are sponsoring 4 organic and hoop house production workshops. These are 4 natural resource professionals who are working with farmers interested in organic or high tunnel production. Farmers who serve as trainers or mentors to other farmers are welcome. The workshop is free, but please call to say you're coming so they can reserve you a lunch plate. Monday, June 17th, go to the demonstration farm of the Alliance for Sustainable Production. That's at Goodman, Mississippi. Tuesday, the 18th, the workshop moves to the Danny Daniels Farm on Zero Road at Meridian. Thursday, the 20th, the workshop will be at the Peggy Hall Farm on Shady Grove Road at Pontotoc. The last one will be held Friday, June 21st at the Francis Flowers and Herbs Farm on Williams Road at Pickens. Go to our Farm Week website at farmweek.msucares.com for information on these and other events. Now check out this week's Farm Week Snapshot.
In the second half of the markets, we focus on livestock, beginning with some analysis of the cattle trade. The Brugler commentary noted this week that consumer resistance to the record-high choice beef prices is showing up now in post-Memorial Day restocking plans by retailers. I asked Extension Ag economist Dr. Brian Williams some questions about his impressions of the market situation for cattle on Thursday morning. Brian, the story in cattle recently seems to be low futures price, but high cash live cattle price. What are you seeing in the next few weeks here as far as the meat sector?
Well, I think in the next few weeks we'll probably see a lot more of the same. This has been the case for the last several weeks, and what we're seeing is the corn prices are kind of driving some of the futures markets, but at the same time the feedlots have to fill up their pens, and you know they've got to pay more for them on the cash market.
Now, you mentioned corn prices there. Now, as far as what we're seeing, particularly in feeder cattle, is that the main culprit there,
Yeah.
the high corn prices?
In part, yes. The corn prices have been creeping up over the past couple months, and that's been cutting into some of the feedlot margins. Combine that with the beef prices coming down a little bit after Memorial Day, and it's causing some pressure on the feeder cattle markets.
All right, in your other visits, we mentioned the importance of grilling season, and of course we've got Father's Day coming up. Can that really help in this situation as far as these retail sales? Of course, we've got a problem there as far as I understand there's signs of the consumer resistance growing now to maybe to what the beef prices are.
Well, hopefully we can keep our demand strong. Again, there's some concerns. The prices this week have come down a little bit, but that's normal coming off the Memorial Day holiday. But hopefully the consumers will continue to get out there and keep buying the beef despite the high prices.
And we still have the lingering, as many economists talk about, the sluggish U.S. economy, that along with those retail prices could be at play here.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. There's kind of mixed signals coming out of the economy. Last week there were a couple different reports coming out. One of them said that consumer spending was down in April, but part of that was because of energy prices coming down, but at the same time consumer confidence is up. And so there's really some mixed signals in the general economy.
Cargill has announced the opening of a major poultry processing plant in Russia. The company says the major focus of this operation is supplying chicken McNuggets and other chicken products to McDonald's fast food restaurants in Russia. The new facility employs 140 people. It is able to produce 18,000 metric tons of further processed chicken products a year. The Cargill plant is located less than 200 miles south of Moscow. Before our feature story, let's check the trivia answer for this week. And the correct choice is B. 34 of the 82 counties in the state have one or more dairy farms. The total number of dairy farms for Mississippi now 105 as of December 2012.
Our feature story today is about an organization that's meeting a need for information on organic and sustainable living. It's called the Gaining Ground Sustainability Institute of Mississippi. It has 7 chapters throughout the state. The organization spreads its message by traveling to schools and various public events, as well as holding its own conferences. Farmweek's Amy Taylor first brought us this story last August.
With growing awareness of the need to live healthier and protect the environment, Mississippi is taking sustainable living to a whole new level. Gaining Ground Sustainability Institute for Mississippi, founded by Mike and Allison Bueller, is helping communities develop a new way of life.
We moved back to Mississippi after living in Knoxville, Tennessee, and in Knoxville we had a lot of local food and alternative energy, and it was just pretty common there. And so when we moved back, we were looking for that community again, and then those kind of things. We wanted to put solar panels on our house and couldn't find anyone to do it in the whole state. So we thought surely we're not the only ones that are concerned about these issues, and we started gaining ground basically around our kitchen table.
My wife and I came up with this crazy idea back in 2010 to have an institute that addresses issues of sustainability. Sustainability issues are going to become more and more important in the coming years with energy inputs, be it oil or gas or fertilizers are going to become more expensive, and we got to experience what $4 a gallon gasoline feels like. And that translates into everything, including agriculture, construction, architecture.
Our mission is to build a sustainable Mississippi, and the way we do that is by pulling people together and networking throughout the state. So we identify what sustainable initiatives are going on in Mississippi already, we make connections among those, and then we expand on those. We've got chapters all over the state now. We've got about 5 chapters going on all over the state. We do a conference every year that brings in about 200 people, usually every year, and we change the place every time so that we can hit a different audience. And we're very involved with a newsletter that has over 1,300 people reading it right now.
Additionally, Gaining Ground began publishing the annual Journal of Sustainable Living, filled with inspiring stories and information. Allison Bueller says sustainability is defined as meeting our current needs without sacrificing the ability for future generations to meet their needs. This includes supporting local businesses, recycling, reducing chemicals in food products, and conserving water and energy resources. Mike Bueller emphasizes the importance of reusing materials we often throw out.
You can use a lot of the things that you have, in your yard or on your farm to recycle those and bring those back into the process of growing food and raising your livestock. Everything that you normally would throw out, like your leaves that come out of your tree, your lawn clippings. Of course, we raise chickens and we keep all our chicken manure here. Cardboard, plastic, all the things that everyone should recycle. But just all the organic matter, essentially, that accumulates and a lot of times just gets put on the curb, can all be recycled and put back into your soil to keep it fertile.
Bueller says these practices will benefit not only our health, but secure healthy land resources for the future. Furthermore, Gaining Ground State Board Vice President Mandy Sanders says the organization wants to help communities learn from each other.
What Gaining Ground is trying to do is to connect these farmers in Mississippi that are using these sustainable methods to, let them learn from each other and also to connect them to the consumer.
To help fund this initiative, Sanders says Gaining Ground celebrated its very first annual farm-to-table dinner.
I had really had this vision for a farm-to-table dinner in Starkville. We have so many great farmers in the area and new farmers and young farmers that I just thought it would be a great way to highlight it. So when we were brainstorming fundraising ideas, I just knew it would be a perfect fit. We have lots of local produce, lots of heirloom tomatoes and lots of heirloom baby vegetables, squash, green beans. We have goat. We also have goat's milk that was turned into ice cream and cheese. We have cow's milk that was made into cheese. So just an extreme variety. We have lots of herbs, flowers, just pretty much anything.
Sanders says proceeds will go toward various Gaining Ground activities, such as providing hands-on education. For example, what was a school bus has been repurposed into the Mississippi Mobile Farm, fueled mainly on vegetable oil. Allison Bueller says the bus travels around the state to schools, festivals, and expos to educate communities about sustainable living.
Everything's on the bus. So we have a rain barrel on the bus. We have plants that are growing on the bus. We've got a worm bin. Sometimes we'll bring a chicken to school and eggs. We have a honeybee hive so kids can see those things up close. Kids can walk through and they can smell herbs and touch herbs and taste tomatoes right off the plant. And really a lot of kids haven't had that experience.
In addition, Gaining Ground is bringing fresh, healthy food products to local schools by launching a program called Fresh Start.
The farmer brings the food to them, a local farmer that I can go out and visit his land and see what he's doing, what kind of practices he's employing. And it keeps money in the community. And the cook was very excited about preparing fresh food. Most cooks in the kitchen now are just heating up processed food that's frozen. Anything that had, high fructose corn syrup was out. Anything that was white rice or things like white bread, we turned to whole wheat, whole grain. Just made some good changes.
Bueller says Fresh Start has actually saved some money, and she hopes to bring the program to more schools. Sam McLemore, who operates Bountiful Harvest Farms of Starkville, has found a unique way to promote sustainable living.
I grow produce for currently 10 families in Starkville. This summer we'll be expanding to 20 families here in Starkville, and again growing organic produce, and they get a share or a piece of my vegetable garden each week. They receive a bag full of vegetables. So personal gardener is what you could consider me for these families, and I'm growing just a wide variety of vegetables, from peas to beans, asparagus, blueberries, lettuce, kale, cucumbers, tomatoes, and the list goes on and on.
McLemore says Gaining Ground has been a tremendous help in connecting him with other farmers and consumers.
We're on the beginning of a wave of new young gardeners, young farmers that are able to really make an effect across the nation and across the world to feed everyone. The world is growing and everybody needs to eat, so we should all eat healthy, and so I'm trying to do my part in providing healthy produce for happy people. One person asked me that stopped by the garden, "Man, are you crazy out here growing vegetables out in the wide open? You're just going to be feeding Starkville." And I said, that's probably a good idea. I think the more people I can feed, the better.
As communities pull together to secure healthy lifestyles, Gaining Ground Sustainability Institute for Mississippi can look forward to a bright future in bringing new life to sustainable living. From Starkville, Mississippi, I'm Amy Taylor reporting.
Go to our Farm Week website if you'd like to see this story again. That's farmweek.msucares.com. You can also see it on YouTube and Facebook. We'll also have links and other contact information for Gaining Ground on our Farm Week website and Facebook pages. And its 5th Sustainable Living Conference is set for February in Meridian. We are at the end of Farm Week for this week. On our next show, gluten-free. If you're like me, you're wondering what is gluten-free and why is Bill O'Reilly a fan of it?
Well, we will be telling you what gluten is and who should consider being free of it. It's a very fast-growing segment in supermarket sales today.
You'll also learn about the annual Home Place sale in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. It's helping part-time cow-calf producers to earn more money.
In Southern Gardening, shady landscapes. The grounds around your home can be beautiful without full sun.
For the rest of the Farm Week crew, I'm Artis Ford.
And I'm Leighton Spann. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.